At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. What happens when architecture isn't just about creating buildings, but about creating knowledge? Today on Dave Cooper Live, we're joined by Chris Krager, principal of KRDB and MODULAR, who for 22 years has championed, developed, design, build as a way to make modern design more accessible and transformative. Now, through new video initiatives, Chris is helping train architects and developers to design with modular and offsite methods, giving them the tools to rethink how housing is delivered. From fully integrated BIM workflows to tackling the missing middle, this conversation is all about architects and developers learning to build smarter, faster, and more affordable. But before we get into any of all of that, we got to give a big shout out to our good friends at Cobalt Creed, who service builders, developers, prefab home builders, and manufacturers, allowing them to achieve the highest levels of comfort, indoor air quality, and low energy costs with their HVAC systems installed for their projects and their customers. Their approach is simple. By using the proprietary small duct, high velocity central heating and cooling systems. If you want to learn more, go to cobaltcreed.com. Now, a word from these sponsors, and we're going to get right into the show. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory, optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. All right. Thank you to our sponsors. We can't do any or all of this without them. And also a big shout out to all the sponsors you see going across the ticker below. All of these supporting members allow us to keep bringing you all of these informative conversations. We'd love to have you part of our show. We'd love to have you part of our private network behind the scenes. We do a lot of fun stuff. And for those of you that are wondering, man, Dave, you're all over the place the last couple of weeks. We have been. I have been on the road a lot. Just got back from visiting our good friends at Tavistock at Pier 66 with Craig Collin. We were doing some filming down there. And one of our latest and greatest collaborating members, Leviton, the electronic switch company. We just spent the rest of this entire week, last week, out there with all of them. So a big shout out to them. Like I said, if you want to be part of our internal network and what we're doing, we'd love to have your support. All right. So without further ado, let's bring Chris onto the show. Chris, how are you, my friend?
Great, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So for everybody out there, yeah, no doubt. Chris has been on the show. We're going back a few years now. But since that time, you and your architectural firm and MODULAR have expanded and grown, and you got some wonderful, wonderful partners in the industry now. And you're designing modular development, buildings, residential, all multifamily, you name it. But I'm going to let you catch us up. So why don't you take a few moments and let us know what you've been up to over the last few years?
Yeah, you know, it's been great because there's been no lack of interest or demand for executing projects with the modular delivery method. The problem I was having a few years back, specifically here in Texas, was the lack of supply, meaning manufacturers that could build either the IRC or IBC product that we needed. So we actually spent about a year and a half exploring the possibility of starting our own factory. We were talking to some lean manufacturing consultants. We, explored. We wanted to kind of look at not just like the product type and mix, but what level of automation, what would our building system be for these buildings, et cetera. And fortunately, that sort of tapered off a little bit, that exploration, and I kind of realized the heavy lift it was going to be, and just serendipitously. About a year and a half ago, I was introduced to Joe Butler and Studiobuilt. And so I was able to kind of like table that endeavor and focus on what I really want to focus on, which is developing, designing, and building modular products. So that's, kind of it. Yeah.
Kind of the overview of how life's journey's been. Well, listen, last we spoke, you were exploring the possibility of starting your own factory, right? And working with the lean manufacturing consultant and all those things. Tell us a little bit about what happened there and where you ended up landing with Joe and the studio group.
Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, we spent almost 2 years looking at that. We were even, looking for pre-existing buildings to renovate, et cetera. I mean, so we're in, I call it the Texas Triangle. Austin, we're right in the middle of San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston. So this market that we're in here, over the next decade is going to see 8 million new people in this market. So we could just stay put in the Central Texas market and be fine. I don't need to go outside of Texas. And so much of that housing demand that's going to be needed is missing middle housing, right? Like incremental development.
There, Chris, I popped you off there. Yeah, so the missing middle, I mean, this is a big conversation that we've been seeing a lot of. And I will tell you, what Joe Butler's doing and with their group, I mean, they're really focused on that missing middle, are they not?
Yeah, definitely. So we, that was kind of serendipitous. When I was connected with Joe, it was at the time, so Austin passed an amendment to the Land Development Code about a couple of years ago called the Home Ordinance. It's similar to the LA Small Lot Ordinance, where it essentially did away with single-family zoning, the old single-family zoning. Now what we have is 1 family, 2 family, and 3 family. And then the FAR ratchets up as you go from 1, 2, 3. So, it goes from 45, 55 to 65%.
So just so people watching know, is FRA floor area ratio?
Exactly, area ratio. So if you have a 10,000 square foot lot, if you're going to build 1 single family home on it, you could put 4,500 square feet. If you're going to do 2, you could go 5,500 square feet. 3, 6,500. And then the other thing that happened at the same time was the city of Austin, the city council did away with parking requirements in Austin. So these two things really are contributing to us being able to increase much needed increase in the density in the city, but still keep it at a kind of a neighborhood level. So it's a nice kind of in between step for folks who don't want massive projects, but you're able to increase your density by 30 to 50% with kind of a residential scale project. So the first project we designed for a client who has a lot in West Campus, which is just west of the University of Texas. we were able to bring to Joe Butler and the Studiobuilt team. We just set it as a 3-unit project. We were able to get on 150 by 150 lot, three-story, 1,630 square foot, 3-bedroom, 3-bath houses with yards in between them, 18-foot yards in between them. And Studiobuilt, that was our first project with Studiobuilt. We fabricated in late spring, early summer, and then we set in June. So we're doing the finish out work on that right now.
Tell me a little bit about KRDB. Who's your client? You know, are you a partner of these other factories, or are they more of, you know, hey, we got a great partner that supplies us the products that we need when we need them?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because I mean, the way I've always thought about this is in a partnership sense, not necessarily an official partnership sense, but I think one of the things that's really important, and I think one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about in the industry over the last couple of years is the necessity or the advantages of an integrated design process, where multiple parties are, you have all of the components, all of the necessary team members are involved in the process from kind of onset through realization, right? So while we aren't technically officially a partner with Studiobuilt, I mean, I think the go forward attitude with our team, and for example, we have so our structural and MEP engineer, RCS, I'm sure you know the guys at RCS.
Sure.
They also do the engineering for Studiobuilt, got their factory certified. They do not only do they do all of my modular engineering for structural and MEP, they do my site engineering as well. And then we build a BIM model that we deliver to RCS. RCS designs our structural and MEP in that BIM model. That BIM model then goes to Studiobuilt, and Studiobuilt is working and building their shop drawings off of that same BIM model. This is something we've been doing parametric modeling in our practice for 15 years, but it's just been in the last couple years or so, a year and a half, that this is kind of the promise of BIM modeling, right?
Right.
And that kind of what people have been saying is the future for kind of integrated design process for a long time. And we're finally realizing it. So then, Studiobuilt is, creating shop drawings that they send to us. We review that actual model with them, go over everything in detail prior to kicking off construction. So compared to where we were when we started this in 20 years ago, it was all very siloed, and each of those entities kind of acted independently and weren't necessarily sharing the kind of information. And I feel like that ecosystem has changed, and that's happening now. And I think it's really important in terms of this industry making kind of the next couple of steps and becoming more kind of broadly utilized, broadly understood and accepted, this integrated process. And in other ways as well, I think that the team, and specifically the factory, kind of reaching behind and in front of where they sit in the process. I feel like in the past, a lot of the factories we worked with, they saw themselves in a very specific niche within the construction ecosystem, and didn't really necessarily pay attention to things that were happening or feel that they needed to participate in things that were happening on the front end of that process. For example, questions like, if we're going into a municipality that's not familiar with factory built or industrialized construction, in the past, the factories I worked with weren't necessarily equipped or interested in helping us with that education process. And now I feel like with the kind of ecosystem we put together, we're developing this kind of knowledge base and a system and a way to deliver this to whether that's to municipalities, whether that's to developers, whether that's to owners and clients, and then on the back end too, post occupancy and things like that. And so I think things are moving in that direction. I think it's a really critical step in terms of the industry having broader acceptance.
moving this along with other architects and developers, you've been doing it for a while now. You understand the process. How important is it, one, that we have more architects and developers looking at this way of building? I think that's part of it. But two, also having the knowledge of how to actually design, build, and manufacture, versus thinking you're just going to design something, give it to a manufacturer, and they're just going to magically produce exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I mean, we have to, certainly our role as architects, we have to go in and we have to understand how the factory works, how the industry works, what the limitations are, and how we approach our projects within that kind of set of constraints. Because we have many times, as you kind of alluded to, had folks come to us, a developer come to us and say, hey, we have this project and they want us to modularize it, right? And it just doesn't work that way. I mean, it can happen, but it's a much smoother process, and your odds of success and having fewer failures or problems along the way are going to be much higher if we, especially I'll speak for my discipline, we really understand, study, and cooperate, whether it be with a factory, whether it be with, like I said, the sub-consultants we work with that have deep knowledge about how these things work. And every factory has slightly different, means and methods, the way they do things. And so learning that and understanding it is critical.
Yeah. Oh, please continue. I didn't mean to stop.
I was going to say, and this is something in that we, over the years, one of the things I've realized is, a couple of things. One, as you well know, Dave, people love video, right? People love to have this information delivered to them in a kind of succinct, clear manner. And so we started, we've been, from almost day one, we've been doing some documentation and video documentation of sets and things like that, and walkthroughs. But about a year and a half ago, we realized internally, like, it'd be really helpful if we could put together a short set of kind of explainer videos, right? That take small chunks of this process and kind of and spell them out. I mean, we're also doing, like I said, we've got some that are maybe a little more eye candy, which are just like, a set video that's really, it's kind of fun to watch at and see that.
Right.
But we've started this series of explainer videos. So the first one that it's up on our YouTube page now, is a walk through the Studiobuilt factory, where Mark, the shop foreman, kind of walks us through the process. It explains how that building goes together. And that's something, most folks don't have the opportunity to get into a factory, although most of the factories are more than happy to give people a tour. I think it's super helpful to have this kind of documentation and explanation of this process. And so this first one is just the walkthrough of the factory. We also documented the set of this project. Was pretty interesting because it was 9 boxes on a kind of fairly tight site. And then we're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough when it's complete. So we're going to have another 1 or 2 videos that kind of round out the exploration of how this project all, making the sausage, how it all came together.
Well, I mean, that's what it is, right? It's about education, and it's about creating the visuals so people really understand that, this isn't a manufactured home. This isn't a home on wheels. This is just a process in which we build. Same code, same everything else, right? And I think that's awesome that you're doing it. From an architect or developer's point of view, how important is it to have all the stakeholders, the MEP contractors, the designers, every electrician, plumbers, critical infrastructure, all the way through at the table at the very beginning when pulling a project together for offsite?
I mean, if you want to succeed without too many hurdles, it's absolutely necessary. I mean, right. You can do it the other way. You can bootstrap it, but it really, I mean, once you do that and you realize how important that is. I mean, when we started setting our first multi-story mods, there was so many lessons learned in terms of, just first of all, from a design perspective, like how do we deal with MEP stuff? One thing that was like the biggest lesson on multi-story. It's like, coordinating this MEP. And we we took a different approach. We started like on the Robbins project, as opposed to trying to land these things on each other to make these connections. We ran a wet and a dry chase. There's points of connection that come out of each box. And then the electrician, the plumber, the mechanical contractor, he's working from these point of connections on the outside of the building in one chase, really simplifying his job. It's really easy and clear to explain that in drawings and diagrams with them, and in execution, it's really easy as well. And then, back to our MEP and structural engineers, we've gotten to the point now where Studiobuilt doesn't, in the past, and I think still in a lot of situations, the drawings that are being created for either the state approval set or shop drawings, the factory's doing them. Well, we have been doing this long enough that with RCS, the set of drawings we send to Studiobuilt, they basically have to put their logo on it. Like that, right. that set of drawings is ready to go to TDLR. And actually, we've got a project that's just going into fabrication of Studiobuilt right now. It's a three-unit family compound. 2 of the 3 buildings had no deviations when they went through the approval process. So that's how tight that process was, and getting those drawings kind of really detailed, oriented. Right. Details, up front. So
did NTA or PFS or any of them have any comments on it? The third parties?
Yeah. That's TR Arnold was the
was
the third party, and that's what I'm saying. Like 2 of them, there were no deviations. So
that's insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a testament. A lot to RCS is fantastic. Right. Like they do a great job. They really know. They understand, backwards and forwards. What's expected and required. So, but again, that's the value of like having this team and working together. I mean, for me, one of the frustrations over 20 years of doing this, I've worked with so many different manufacturers. Like the idea that I could have a long-standing relationship where we're building over the years with the same team, it just gets easier each time you do it, right?
Right.
So that's we're really excited about that. And honestly, Dave, like I've spent exactly $0 on marketing modular to this point. The main reason is because I wasn't confident that I was going to have the supply, like I was going to be able to turn around and meet that demand. I mean, we've got some great projects that, we've got a hotel, 58 unit hotel that we designed in the Hill Country. We've got our 83 unit senior 55 plus community in Buda. We've got some other, some of these infill missing middle projects. So, as I said, this kind of incremental development that's going to happen in Texas, we're going to have 8 million in the next 10 years, Central Texas Triangle, Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, 8 million new folks moving into this region. We could just stay in Central Texas and build housing through incremental development in those 10 years with the modular delivery method. It's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah, it really is exciting. For people looking to get into this, Chris, and when you say things such as we designed it, no deviations from the factory, from the third party, because you've gotten so good at it, there's a value in picking a partner in a factory. And that's the value, because you learn how they actually manufacture, because not all manufacturing facilities are created equal. What they call things is not the same. Either tables, everything's different.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell you, the Studiobuilt team, in my experience, has been often with the factories, they'll have a couple key employees but with Studiobuilt, like across the board, their team, like everyone there, really is top notch. And the experience we've had with them, starting with the engineering and the drafting and the attention to detail and the kind of review of the drawings before we go into production, and trying to be proactive about heading off issues. And then once we get into and then, they get online, before they get online, building a detailed schedule. And then as we're going through fabrication, mock-ups, like I've never had a modular manufacturer do mock-ups for me. They mocked up we had a kind of a slightly complicated trench drain detail with tile. I come into the factory, I wasn't expecting it. They did a mock-up for us and it looked fantastic, drywall mock-ups, really being proactive about understanding where we're coming from an aesthetic perspective or performance perspective, and asking questions about that, et cetera. At the same time, I think we also are a good partner in that we are flexible. We understand that they may have supply chain preferences. And so we work with them and say, okay, well, we're fine substituting X for Y, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a very, that relationship kind of very, there's a lot of communication, a lot of back and forth, a lot of planning and preparation. And yeah, they've been a fantastic partner, and it's 100%. It's not necessary, but if you want to sleep at night, if you want to avoid the agita that comes with construction, having that team together that you feel confident with and comfortable with is just it's a necessity as far as I'm concerned.
You mentioned that you guys are, finally vertically integrated. What does that mean to you when you say those words?
Well, I guess what I mean by that, we're not literally vertically integrated, but it's that team that I described, right? It's that, that everyone that's involved in this process, we're bringing the same group to the table each time we do a project. So in that, they're independent entities, our sub-consultant, our structural engineer, our mechanical engineer, et cetera, manufacturer. But it feels we act as a whole. We are communicating with each other. We understand the process. We understand what the expectations are, and so it's more of a vertical integration. But it's just really we've built that team that we feel real confident in.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it, right? That's the only way that offsite modular works, is if you have a team focus. You're not out there throwing the bid at, 5 different, manufacturers where you don't know all their process. Because even though you may see a lower price, once you get down to the nuts and bolts, it's typically not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is how it works. So, as you're going through this process, what inspired you to start helping other architects and developers, want to be involved in this, and to spend your time teaching others what took you 22 years to figure out on your own?
Well, it's funny that it's kind of similar to when I started my develop, design, build company. And our goal was making affordable architecture, accessible, affordable architecture. And it was interesting. I was interviewed for an article, and this person that was interviewing me said to me, because it had gotten some attention, got some press, and this person said to me, well, aren't you concerned about competition or people imitating what you're doing? And I said, absolutely not. Like, the opposite is true. I want to bring more people to the party. I want for the modular delivery method to be perceived as viable, and for people to understand it, and that it is, this is feasible. It's not only feasible, it's superior. It's not always the right way to build, but it is often the right solution, especially, again, in this kind of for incremental development. And so I feel like the more of my colleagues, whether they be developers, builders, architects, that are participating in this, the larger the proportion of the market that is built in offsite methodology. We all benefit from that. It can bring, right now we have cost parity with modular construction, right? I think theoretically, if we had modular at scale, it can and it should and it can be even less expensive. So, but more important than that, it's the other advantages of offsite that I see. The control, the quality, et cetera. And so, the more folks that are doing it, the more everyone, rising tide, right, lifts all boats. So,
yeah, I got to do a record scratch because this is my biggest thing. How many times do I hear architects that are designing offsite modular or modular manufacturers, or even we're still in stealth mode, we're not coming out manufacturers, they don't want to share their IP. I've been in more manufacturing facilities probably than just about anybody. I see Steve Dubin's watching. He's catching up really quick. But I will tell you, when you're only 3%, maybe 4% in the entire market, if you got it figured out, then we would be a lot more than 3 to 4% of the entire market. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in this. There is so much room to grow. And you hit the nail on the head, no pun intended, that, the more people we can get involved, the more of the industry will all share and have together to build better, faster, more sustainable, more cost effective, all of the above and all the things you mentioned. So I'm really happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean, more to your point there, Dave. I think the kind of like software notion of open source, like that's what we need in the modular industry. And this, industrialized housing conference that was here in Austin just recently, that made me hopeful in that regard because of the kind of across the spectrum of the process, the players that were represented there, and the kind of critical conversation about what needs to happen.
Yep.
And that kind of, I think, a more open source mentality will be the key to the industry gaining broader acceptance.
Yeah, but you know what? All these conferences, Chris, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. There's very few people. Everybody talks about it. Everybody's a thought leader. It's the same stories we hear over and over again. But we need people like yourself, Chris, that are saying, well, we're doing it. Here's the way forward. Follow me. Nobody gets up there and says, this is how we're all moving forward. They just share their thoughts, share their ideas, which is great. They share what they're doing. Sharing knowledge is really, really important. But we really need more of the follow me mentality and, you creating videos to help, people such as architects, which is your profession, right? Those are your professional peers. And these are the people that either look up to you or you look up to them or vice versa. So I think that's pretty awesome that you're doing that and you're willing to put that knowledge out there. So thank you.
I think it's necessary for our success as well as everyone else's. So.
Yeah. You know what? And if we had a bunch of architects, across the country, around the world, talking to all of their clients about the opportunities with offsite construction, period, and we can act more like the pharmaceutical industry and start getting the customer to ask for a better product, right? Think about that. The pharmaceutical company does it all the time. You watch TV and they shifted from pharmaceutical companies paying the doctors to, use their product because they're sending them on vacation to now you see it on TV. Hey, ask your doctor for this blue little pill. It's the best one on the market. And this is why. Well, that's what we should be doing in our industry is how do we get the consumer to ask for a better product? Because if they're asking for it, then the architects and the manufacturers and the developers, people will start listening because it's all customer driven.
Yeah. And the proof's in the pudding. And what I find is we just we tour someone through the project and they're just,
right.
The first project we did was Studiobuilt, even prior to completion, almost without exception, everyone we walk through that project is like, this is a great project. Like I can't believe this. So.
Over all of my years and being a builder and developer of 20 years doing modular and offsite, I will tell you, when people actually walk through the factory or go to the project, they can't believe it. It is the switch finally goes off. It doesn't matter how many videos you show them. It's not until you show up. Hey, I wanted to throw up here also your modular website for everybody. It's part of your other website as well, so you can find it. But I think it's important to people to realize that, you're just not drawing. You are part of the entire process from soup to nuts. So if a developer comes to you and they say, Chris, I just want you to design it and I want you to manage the process from concept all the way through manufacturing, what do you tell them?
If it's in Austin, we can handle it turnkey for them. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's important. So, is there anything I left out, Chris, for today's show? Is there anything else you want to share? Did we touch on everything?
I think we covered everything we wanted to cover.
What's the best way for our audience that's out there, developers, builders, or other manufacturers that want to work with you?
Email me, Chris, CHRIS @KRDB.com.
Well, you know what? After the show, go and put those in the comments everywhere. I think that's going to be a very valuable thing. I'm not responsible if you get spammed, just FYI. But Chris, I mean, this is awesome. We're going to have Joe Butler on the show again here soon too. It'll be fun to hear his side of the story. But big shout out to Joe, because Joe said, "Hey, Chris has been helping us out. You need to talk to Chris. We're doing a lot of amazing things." And by the way, Amherst builds a lot of projects. They are no small cookie out there. They're a big player in this market.
Well, and I think that that's important in terms of the success of the factory. Like they understand the construction industry. And that's another thing as well that I didn't mention, but most modular factories are standalone profit centers. Studiobuilt is there to serve Amherst needs as a developer. And so they have a different mindset. And it's worked so far. I mean, they've, like I said, I couldn't be happier, and I'm looking forward to a long-standing relationship with those guys and building many units here in Texas.
Amherst is 100%. If you're not familiar with them, just Google them, look them up. I think they're one of the largest single lot family holders or something, infill property holders in the country. And they have chosen to move forward and not only invest in modular and offsite solution, they're actually building manufacturing facilities, feeding their own beast of a development company, and also working with others. So not only are they bringing the skill because they're doing their own projects and fine tuning it, you're bringing them projects, and you're just creating this octopus of knowledge that's growing. Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah, I think they've got 15 billion in 24 markets. So, that's
that's it, 15 billion. I thought it was bigger. What's the matter with you, Joe? If you're listening, come on, man. 20 billion or nothing. What's up with that? That's big.
Hopefully we'll contribute to that number.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I do love it. Let me just give a quick shout out. Steve made a quick comment. He said, "Good afternoon from California. Got to meet Chris in Austin a few weeks back. Good to see him on DCL." So, hey, man, always a pleasure. And for all of you out there wondering why I'm going live at 5 p.m. Eastern time, hey, listen, we're busy. We're on the road, but it's just the way it works sometimes. So we're a little off schedule today, but Chris, I'm really happy you could join us. This has been awesome. And hopefully we'll be able to follow along with some of your projects moving forward. And again, I got to put our supporting members down there. We've got all of you out there. We can't bring awareness to people like Chris and others that are really trying to make a difference in this world. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you having me on. And when you're in Austin, please let me know. I'd like to give you a tour of one of the projects.
Heck yeah. Let's come out and film it.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not? All right, Chris, don't go anywhere. We'll come back to you in just a moment. Hey, for the rest of you out there, know this. Green Build 2025, Los Angeles, California, November 4th through the 7th. They've given us a 20 by 40 stage right on the showroom floor. That's right. We're going to bring the best of the best up there to have conversations. If you're interested in partaking, if you're interested in being on that stage and you want to share your knowledge, now's the time to do it. Reach out to us, DM us. But November 4th through the 7th, we're going to be in Los Angeles at Green Build 2025, and you can guarantee we're bringing the heat. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Chris, that's a wrap for us today, everybody. So don't go anywhere, Chris. We'll come back to you after the show. And by the way, it's Monday. You still got 4.5 days to keep building it better. We are working on a better built world. So stay tuned. We'll see you this Wednesday. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.